freaking first cut. Golly.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the First Cut podcast. This is your round 2 3M Open recap. I'm Patrick McDonald, but I am joined by an esteemed guest, the international man of mystery himself, a global superstar, some are saying, Mark Immelman, back from his European summer. Mark, what is going on?
Okay, first off, who was that some people were saying, because they need their heads read. And secondly, I'm good, man. It's good to be back stateside, but the European sojourn was a lot of fun.
What was the best? I mean, you hit all the stops from Wimbledon, Taylor Swift, St. Andrews. I mean, how was the Taylor Swift concert? Let's start there.
It was good. Okay. My daughters were the Swifties. My little one, Sophia, was a big Taylor Swift fan, but it was awesome. It was just outside of Düsseldorf. Paramore opened up for her, and they were fantastic.
Oh.
And I got to tell you, after the concert, I'm a Swiftie. I might have become a Swiftie. That's how good it was. She was fantastic. 3 hours, man. It was unreal how long she went on, and she just hit it all. And the energy was high, and the crowds were crazy, so that was great. But you know, there were a lot of highlights. Obviously, Wimbledon was great. Just with my girls on Tuesday afternoon in the rain, and then Tracy, my wife, and my littlest, we went on Wednesday, and then Scottish Open was very cool. You know, covering Adam Scott playing beautifully, coming down the way there was a lot of fun for me. So I'd call that a highlight. And then the old course with my daughter. Isabella was special. To watch her make a couple birdies there in a row around the front was fun. And I played the loop of 5 threes, big eye. From 7 through 11, I made 5 threes in a row. And I had about
There's a rumor that you hit the hotel on 17.
No, I aimed it so far left. I might have missed number 2 fairway on the left side. And I had a putt from like 12 feet for a 3 on 12, which would have been 6.
Wow.
That's kind of the thing to do. So that was my highlight. And then the road trip to Scotland was great. It was fun. It really was fun.
Well, life hits you fast because you are here with me now, recapping round 2 of the 3M Open. Let's get into it. Out in the morning wave, some windy conditions out there. Mark's hair is nice and coiffed from walking the course, doing a little scouting for the weekend, looking like a young buck. And out there in the morning, let's start with Sam Burns, right? This is a guy who kind of stumbled his way into contention there at the Open, played in the easier wave. They got the best of the conditions on Saturday. Did not have a good go on Sunday at the Open, shooting 80. Got punched in the face early in this tournament. Carded a quadruple bogey, was 3 over through 7, battled back, carded red figures on Thursday, and got it rolling on Friday. Marked 6 under, 65, 7 under for the tournament, only 3 off the lead, 9 birdies on that scorecard, half the holes if my math is correct. But Mark, Sam Burns in position heading into the weekend to potentially win this tournament.
Yeah, and it's about time. Look, he's one of these guys where, you know what, you could convince anyone if you started to use names of young American stars coming up that you could make a legitimate case for Sam Burns. I mean, he's powerful. He's got great touch. I'd say on the greens, the flat stick might even be the calling card there for Sam Burns. So he's got all the tools, and he's a proven winner. And in college was beating all these guys that are beating him now. And the season, as far as I'm concerned, given the talent level, has been inauspicious. So it's about time for him to play well, especially now that we're close to the playoffs time. And look, if you're going to get this golf course, especially the last couple of days, early is when you do it, because both days the wind is freshened. And this afternoon, man, it was blustery and it was blowing hard. And it was sort of an awkward wind where holes 16 and 17 were back into the breeze. And then 18 was from the side. So there's no real guarantee, but you got to get it. And you would think, as far as players, the class of the field, I guess Tony Finau is the highest ranked. But Sam Burns should be one of those guys. But it's been a kind of season for him to forget. But if he can pull off a big weekend and get the win, I'm sure that'll go a long way to him doing what's expected of him. including making a potential President's Cup team. Because look, I think he's a long way from the reckoning right now. But he's the kind of guy that the US should be putting their hopes on because he's that kind of a player.
Yeah, totally agree. 13th in the standings, 30th in the FedEx Cup standings. So a win would obviously help them a ton in regards to making the Tour Championship also. So a lot of guys playing for those different cutoffs, 30, 50, 70, try to get in best position for FedEx Cup fall if that's the case too. And someone who is looking like he's going to have to go through the FedEx Cup fall, unless he wins this weekend perhaps, is Matt NeSmith. It has not been a great year for the fifth-year PGA Tour player. Came into July with 10 missed cuts and 0 top 20 finishes. Not really getting the job done, but put together a nice finish there at the ISCO Championship. Lost in the playoff to Ariel. I don't pronounce my H's for English names. Probably should have won that. He had a couple good looks for birdie on the first couple playoff holes that he did not make. Didn't play great at Barracuda, but continued to strike the ball well. 7 under 64 for NeSmith. He's at 10 under. Currently the clubhouse lead. There's guys on the golf course who could pass him. But this is a guy, Mark, who has always been a really good ball striker. That's kind of fallen off a little bit this year. But outside the top 125, he was preaching patience after his round today, bogey free, and in position to contend in a PGA Tour tournament once again.
He's one of those guys, Patrick. You're there in South Carolina. If you walk up and down a PGA Tour range and you just see guys hitting golf balls, and then you see Matt NeSmith, if you don't know who he is, you look at the golf swing, you look at the way the ball's struck, you look at the way the thing is flighted through the air, how tight the ball pattern is, and the dude barely ever misses the center of the club face. And you're like, who's this guy? And you're like, oh, yeah, I've kind of heard that's the guy, a strange name, NeSmith, and once in a while he pops up on leaderboards. Kind of like Sam Burns in a way to me. Matt NeSmith should do a whole lot more if you just look at the raw materials. But look, he's still learning his craft a little bit, as far as I'm concerned. And that was a beautiful day's work today. I mean, all those threes around this place, it was there to be had if you were playing from the fairway. You cannot afford to play offense from the rough because it's lush in spots around this golf course. So if you put in the ball and play off the tee, you can go ahead and attack because the greens are quite receptive. But look, it's reckoning time. And for someone like a NeSmith, it's a great day to put himself in contention for a big weekend to make the challenge of getting into the playoffs just that little bit easier. Because look, there's not much time left. I mean, we've got the Olympic Games next week and then the Wyndham Championship. So it's all or nothing now for guys like NeSmith and company.
It is. And someone on that cutoff a little bit closer, you talked about hitting fairways, one of the more accurate drivers on the PGA Tour, not the longest. Andrew Putnam entered the week number 74 in the FedEx Cup standings. Hasn't had probably his best year on the PGA Tour. Missed 2 out of his last 3 cuts. Played well at the Barracuda Championship. The iron play starting to trend in the right direction. He is there at 9 under in the mix at the 3M Open. He had his top 20 to his name at this golf tournament before. But you talk about day of reckoning, Mark, time of reckoning. Andrew Putnam, 74. He is right in that zone, someone who can make a move and push someone out from that top 60 should this week in the Wyndham Championship go well for him.
Yeah, and he's look, I love Andrew Putnam. He's one of the great guys on tour, and he's a big fan of my podcast, which endears him to me in a big way. But, like you talk about NeSmith, who doesn't miss. Then you watch Andrew Putnam, and he hits this just little bleedy fade all day long. I mean, he's not going to blow your hair back ball striking wise, but just the sum of the parts to me are really good when it comes to Andrew Putnam. He's accurate off the tee. You talked about it. On the greens, he's tremendous. And he just controls distance very, very well. And every so often you turn your head and there Andrew Putnam's in contention. And he has won before, so he knows how to do this stuff. And I would say of, people around the top of the leaderboard, conditions are forecast to blow the wind again tomorrow. So I've sort of got my eye on him because just the way he plays, it's no frills. Mentally, he's very attuned to what's going on. He never seems like he's too high or too low. And then, of course, there's that putter. So it's time. This would go a long way to guaranteeing, solidifying that that playoff berth and not having to worry about the Wyndham Championship. But all that said, the way he looks like he's going right now, I kind of like his chances because of the game he plays. Even though this golf course kind of loves someone who's long off the tee, it certainly is rewarding play from the fairway with this week.
Yeah, I did not know. Subscriber to On the Mark podcast, everyone. Go listen where you get your local podcast for Mark Immelman. All right, let's get to one last guy from the morning wave. Let's go with the Gim Reaper, Doug Gim, because he put on a ball striking display today, Mark. He shot 7 under 64. He's 8 under for the tournament. 7 birdies, 11 pars, bogey free. 0 made putts from outside 10 feet, Mark. 0 from outside 10 feet. How tidy is that? Gained almost 7 strokes from tee to green. And Gim, this is a guy who had a really nice spring. I remember picking him. I picked him for one and done, I believe, at the Valspar. That's probably when his season took a turn, unfortunately. But if you want to put 2 and 2 together, but without a top 20 since the Players' Championship, in contention, another guy really, I mean, all these guys towards the top of the leaderboard in need of a big weekend, and Gim certainly included, looking for his first win.
He's an incredible player to watch, Doug Gim. And you talk about one and done. Art Durazo, if you're listening, Art and I, the entire season, have a daily friendly 5 that we have, and you pick one player, and then it's just a head-to-head thing. And for the season, I'm 20 up on Art. And so he sends me his pick last night, which was Cam Davis. And I look down the board, and I'm like, I've got to go with someone early. And I'm looking at the scores, and I'm like, yeah, I think Doug Gim's a good candidate. But somehow I decided to go with Kurt Kitayama. Doug Gim he's like Mighty Mouse. You know, he's slightly built. He hits the ball with this beautiful little reliable draw shot. He was great in college, and he's almost the kind of guy that was the can't miss sort of a kid. But he has not got that victory just yet. But he's always popping up around the place just because he's so reliable. And he plays bigger than himself, if that's a way to describe somebody. You know, there's certain golfers when they go out there and they play and you look at the scorecard, the score that they signed for was probably the highest they could have shot on the day. Doug Gim's the kind of guy where he is, if I was a coach and I was picking 5 players, he's all in all the time. And he's going to scratch and claw. And what he signs for is the lowest number on the day. Now, 64 was pretty stout this morning. And it just, like Putnam, really, I feel like I fancy his chances this week just because of the mindset and the way he plays the game. Because it is time for Doug Gim, because in college he was a bit of a star.
Yeah, he was what he finished runner-up to Doc Redman at the AM at Riviera, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, he beat a kid from Virginia Tech in the semis. I remember that quite well. But yeah, Doug Gim, obviously, he's been good for a very long time. Seems like he's due for that first PGA Tour victory, like you said. Okay, we will get to the afternoon wave, which proved to be quite difficult. Golf course playing over par there at TPC Twin Cities. But first, a quick word from one of our partners.
Never before seen matches and new rivalries unlocked. Trust me, we're just getting started. The Summer Cup is here. Let these games begin.
And we are back. TPC Twin Cities playing 1/100th of a stroke over par today, Mark. How about that?
It's over.
It is over. Afternoon wave, a quarter of a stroke over par. So obviously a bit more difficult. Not a ton of guys making moves, but we have someone like Tony Finau who had, let's just say, an adventurous round. Currently putting for birdie on 18. I'm hoping he makes it because he's my one and done pick. But talk about kind of being all over the place, Mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bogey on his round. He comes back with 4 birdies and an eagle as well. Currently 1 under on the day, 5 under for the tournament. Still right there, only 5 or maybe even 6 back at this point. But Tone, still looking for that first win of the season.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy you would earmark for this golf course because he's had so much success around here. But you've got to consider the guys that have come back from the trip abroad from Troon. I mean, I was over there a bit longer than them, and I find myself today at this, or at least at this time of the day, where it's like, dang, my body clock tells me it's like 11 o'clock. So you're fighting that sort of a thing where you're waking up at all hours. Now, not to say that's the issue, but it's something you have to bear in mind when it comes to some of the inconsistencies, because on a day like today when it's blustery, it's easy to get the ball in the wrong spots, and then that's when the stuff beyond the skill sometimes kicks in. Golf's that curious game where you work hard on your physical skill, but at times there's certain shots where it's just sort of will and determination and finding a way. And if you're a little fatigued and jet lagged and you're unsure of the game because you didn't play very well last week, that's where it can catch up with you. So that sort of makes sense why you would see the inconsistent card with a few birdies and a few bogeys mixed in there. But he's proven that he can get this place. And I think there's enough good stuff going on. I think of a putt that he just made back on 16. I was watching the footage. 10 feet uphill, that's the kind of stuff that if you're going to shoot a real low round, you make those. And if Tony has those kind of average days, those are the ones that sort of limp at the hole. And this thing rolled in there with pretty good speed. So I was like, yeah, well, maybe this could be it still because there's a lot of golf left. But again, for Tony, this is a guy that I feel like he should be looking for more out of himself right now. And he could really use a big weekend as we line up the end of the season.
And we do have breaking news. He made that birdie putt from 8 feet 11 inches on 18. You gotta love that. Gets to 6 under, 5 behind our current leader. He was alongside a man who was the most popular one and done selection. Mark, who do you have this week?
Cam Davis.
Cam Davis. Okay, so this is a man who, unfortunately, we probably wanted to miss the cut, and unfortunately, he's not going to miss the cut. We don't ever root against anyone. Wink, wink. But Akshay Bhatia, it's kind of weird out there, Mark, where you are a couple strokes from really being in this tournament, coming down the stretch of your second round, but you're also a couple strokes from packing your bags, and that's kind of what Bhatia found himself in. Really bad round one with the driver. I believe he hit 3 balls in the water, did super well to turn in an under par round. Despite that, got off to a great start, got as deep as 4 under for the tournament, back 9, a couple squares on the scorecard, pars the last 3 under inside the 2 under cut line that it's looking at. And Bhatia, not a great start, but he's someone who could, off early tomorrow, Mark. Would you be surprised if he shoots 64, 63 and gets himself right back in this tournament?
Nah, he's electric, and he's playing with so much confidence now after the win earlier this season as well. And I just feel like, he's got to find the fairway a little bit more. But the iron game, despite where he's driven it, has been really, really sound. Now, it's been a function a little bit of some of the really good ball striking with the irons, but also the fact that these greens are receptive. So with that being said, he must be thinking to himself, well, okay, I'm in on the weekend, so that's that out of the way, so I can freewheel early tomorrow morning. So if I find the fairway, I know the iron game is there, and because the greens are receptive, I then could go ahead and play some offense because, now it's just free swinging over the weekend because, look, the season he's had, it's all gravy from now. So I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if he gets busy, but he's going to have to play from the fairway because there were one or two tee shots I saw that were like, unlike Akshay, let me just put it that way. So he needs to play from the fairway a bit more, and then of course make some putts, because I always feel like with Bhatia, when he hits it, I'm never really concerned if the sun's. Let's say he was my brother or my son or whatever. When he hits the ball, I'm not that too concerned. But when he's over 5 or 6 or 7 feet, I'm always kind of like holding my breath a little bit. And when he makes those putts is when he contends. So if he can put the ball in play and make a few putts, yeah, I think all bets are off.
Yeah, he has only hit, let me count them, I believe 10 fairways so far this week. And when I tuned into the coverage, Mark, he was playing backwards. So that's never that's never a good sign. I was like, all right, I guess we're doing this whole dance again. But battled it out, toughened it out, and got himself a paycheck this weekend. He'll be looking to catch the man currently in the lead at 11 under, past Matthew NeSmith in the afternoon wave. A man potentially on that International Presidents Cup team, Mark. Taylor Pendrith playing some really, really good golf as of late. Finished inside the top 5 there at the Barracuda Championship. Yesterday, hit the ball great. Shot around a 5 under. Today, he got the putter rolling in the right direction. Made a ton of great putts for birdie, par, all of the above. He's in the middle on 18, looking to get to 12, maybe even 13, and extend his lead going into the weekend and become only the 5th multiple-time winner on the PGA Tour this season.
You speak with all the Canadians, and especially Derek, the Golf Canada coach to a lot of them, who's taught Taylor since he was a kid. And they'll all say that Taylor is athletically the most gifted physically of the bunch of them. I mean, Taylor Pendrith is big, he's tall, he's strong, was a great baseball player, and stuff comes easy to him. And you get the sense that this athlete now is playing with a whole lot of confidence after the victory in Dallas at the Byron Nelson CJ Cup. And then I look at this, and I look at this golf course, and it kind of gives to me sort of Canada vibes a little bit. With the bent grass everywhere, you've got this lush rough, but it's not Kentucky bluegrass. It's kind of wispy and long. The greens feel like Canada in a way, like you go to certain places there where it's sort of rolling undulations and stuff. And look, we're very close to now the northern border, so it's got to be a very comfy place, I feel like, for Taylor Pendrith. And you add to the fact that he's playing well, he's got a whole lot of confidence. Yeah, look, it's all coming up roses for him right now, and if he had to pull off another victory, that would all but cinch, I feel like, selection on that President's Cup team. And then also, to me, put him in a place where making it to the Tour Championship, which unlocks all sorts of things for a golfer, the top 30. And it's a place I don't believe he's ever been. You can check the records, but I don't believe Taylor has made the top 30. And that, for all the players, you can ask them at the beginning of the year, they're like, yeah, Tour Championship is what I want to check off the list. So you can pull off something this weekend, and he'll put himself well on the way to doing that.
Without checking my extensive database, I believe you are correct in that assumption. So yeah, playing great golf, going to try to see if he can push it out. He's got 212 to the green from the middle of the fairway, pumped a drive down there, maybe push it out to 12, hell, maybe even 13, go into the weekend.
That 18th is, like I said, the wind's sort of over you a little bit from your left shoulder. It's downwind if you get in the fairway from 212. With a back hole location, you don't want to miss long. Geez, he might have 7 iron in hand there. Just hit the thing in the middle of the green and then 2-putt. So it's certainly a green light from where he is.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay, Josh, do you have the betting odds for us? Let's see what it's looking like right now. Taylor Pendrith, ooh, the heavy favorite. I cannot see this with my eyes at all. All right, I got it now. Never mind. Taylor Pendrith, plus 260. Wow, wow, wow. He's the only man single digits under par. He's followed by Sam Burns at 12-1, who could be 5 off the pace if Pendrith birdies the 18th. Putnam's also at 12. Tony Finau is at 12. I was hoping for a longer number on Tone. NeSmith, 12. Doug Gim, 14-1. Jonathan Vegas, 16-1. Sahith, 16-1. What is going on? These odds are nuts. And Kurt Kitayama, 18-1. Mark, are you buying the big Canadian, or are you going down the board, throwing a couple darts?
I don't know what the good folks at FanDuel are doing with these numbers over here. I mean, plus 260 for Pendrith with 2 rounds left. Look, I love Taylor. I really do. Pendy is a great guy, but I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. As I look down the list, I'm high on Doug Gim. I think plus 1,400 is of all the bets, they're probably the most likely. But I wouldn't be surprised if you look beyond this list and someone goes crazy tomorrow. And of course, you have the Sunday leaderboard gravity thing that sets in, and then it starts to get a little silly when the pressure gets up, because it's not like we've got a bunch of proven tournament winners there near the top of the leaderboard. So it's going to be exciting. It always is. The end of this golf course, the way it ends, I should say, with 14 and 15 being somewhat challenging par 4s. 13 before that, the par 3 is a difficult par 3. Then you've got 16, 17, 18, where you could see 2, 3, 4-stroke swings. So tomorrow is moving day, but I like Doug Gim. I don't think he's going away for the very same reason I kind of like Andrew Putnam as well. But still, it is a bomber's course. So if you get someone like a Finau or someone like a Sam Burns who can play from the fairway, make a few putts, then they're on their way. But I'm still curious at these numbers. I really am.
Dude, that makes two of us. I think Josh has to press reload or something. I'm joking. I'm joking. I think I still believe. I'm still a Tony Finau believer. 12-1 has the firepower. Just too many mistakes today. I think he'll get it under control, and he's going to win. I'm going to catch Greg in one and done. Everyone's going to be happy, and the rest is history. It's the march towards the finish line for my one and done. Rise to the top. And I believe that is all we have.
Wait, I got to say something about the one and done.
Yeah, please. Let's hear it.
I am so aggravated, I can't tell you. And in a way, it's actually, and I feel saddened really, because remember that sort of silly quote by McIlroy where he goes, well, after I made 8 in the second round, I was thinking of where I was going to go on vacation, kind of thing. Yeah. So with like 14 holes left, he'd almost given up on the thing. I hate to say I've kind of given up on the one and done, but
no,
I can't. I'm going to catch myself and pinch myself because I need a miracle, but it's still on. So I'm going to go for a big week. I need Cam Davis to come right.
Come on, a professional like you're always in it, right? You're always in it, Mark, especially with the playoffs and what you got up your sleeves, most likely.
Are we picking the Olympic Games? Come on, Josh.
We'll leave that for next episode. That's going to be a little teaser. The listeners are going to have to come out and find if they have to pick the Olympic Games. Although I doubt it. Okay, this was your round 2 recap for the 3M Open. That is Mark Immelman, international man of mystery, global superstar, whatever you want to call him. You can find him at Mark_Immelman on the Mark Podcast. Come on, all the subs are listening. Thank you to producer Josh as well. I'm Patrick McDonald. This was the First Cut Podcast, and we will catch you cats later.